accident. Most times you realize that when there is bad burning or bad burn, um, it is the last part of the body that will burn. So if you cannot use any part to recognize that person, you will use that part to give the identity of that person. And that is why most times, as criminologists, as security experts, you are expected to know everybody to the fullest. What do I mean by that? When you know a person, you must know the person's fingers, the shape. You must know the person's toes. You must know the person's eyeball. You must also know the person's dentition. And that way, even if you see any part of the body, you know that this, this is this person. And that is why we always look for somebody who knows them to come and identify them. And there are some that we consider as weak evidence or just strong. I say very strong and just strong. Strong evidence is bullet, ammunition. The bullet is a strong evidence. It can lead you to the person who committed the crime. Uh, the gun itself is also an evidence. The bullet, they call it ballistic evidence. So ballistic evidence is also strong. I did not say very strong, strong. And then because of how people move guns around, most guns are not registered, so you cannot really be able to trace a person. But you can know where the gunshot had come from. And then from there, you can ask witnesses around, and then you know who might have shot the gun. Am I communicating now? We also have beatings, cutlass, all those ones are strong because once you find the assailant, once you establish that this was what happened, if you also provide what was used to complete that mission, then becomes substantial enough for there to be prosecution. And then we have weak evidence. What are the weak evidence? Footprint, not the footprint like raw footprint. Remember, like the fingers, we also have dactyloscopy on the legs too. But we hardly use that record. On BVN, we use fingers. On NIN, we use fingers. But nobody uses the toes. That is why even if you collect that, it doesn't do anything. But it can be on record. But then footprints from the kind of shoe that the person is wearing can be. Design of the tire that moved from a crime scene can also be. Just that, in Nigeria, people don't buy new tires. Sometimes everything has gone, no evidence on the road. And then you can also see that sand particle can also be. All right? So generally, all of these are considered as evidence, but the strong, the very strong, and the overwhelmingly strong that I mentioned earlier on are considered very substantial. But all of these things will not make any sense if we do not complete that triangle. And what is that triangle? Connecting the evidence that you have collected to the crime and to the suspect. With that triangle completed, there can be a prosecution. Arrest, prosecution, imprisonment, depending on the punishment that the society gives. Now, this class does not belong to only me. I have two other people that are part of this presentation. I have here Dr. Adeyemi Adetimehin. It's because he's the one present. He's a visiting scholar from South Africa. He's an expert forensic entomologist. I also have here from our own LASU, Dr. Azizat Oyindamola Alafia. She just stepped out, but she's also the forensic science expert. Oh, I have also the woman that led me to this place or to this point is Dr. Ajilara. I have known her for long. I have known her since 2007. About 2 years ago, we stumbled on ourselves, and in our conversations, we realized that something could be done. But I thought that she was the one that was going to do it. I never left her. I knew I was going to find out when it was time. Now it is time, and we believe that this is going to take criminology and security studies to the next level. So thank you, madam, for making this to happen, because she made this to happen. Thank you very much. I should have added you to the protocol because you deserve it. Thank you very much. So, what is the program like? After this introduction that I have done, I will move on to the next presentation, and that will be done by Dr. Ademiti Meyi and Dr. Alafia. But we need a projector. So just give us a little time to get a projector. We'll do an interlude, and then we get the projector. It will do the processing. After then, we'll move from here to the crime scene. Remember, we have a crime that has been committed. Sorry, two crimes. One by knife and the other one by gunshots. So we are going to move to the crime scene. We cannot move the body here. Do you know why? Moving the body from the primary crime scene to a new scene will affect the collection of evidence. So evidence must be collected from the scene. You can then do a further examination at another place in the lab if you need further examination. But it is always best to collect evidence from the crime scene. For those who were in my class, remember, there are several ways of collecting evidence from the crime scene. But you know that the most important tool that you need at that time are your camera and the magnifying lens so that you can see clearer. Your eyes are not sharp enough because some of them can just be a strand of the hair. I forgot to mention that as a strong evidence too. Hair strand is an evidence from the crime scene. Just that most women now wear wigs and attachments. So we don't get to see the real hair. We just be seeing animal hair everywhere. Thank you very much. I believe that this is going to be a swell time with everybody today. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm also very happy to be here. Thank you very much. Hello. While we're waiting, we can ask questions and then we get responses before we move on to the next lecture. Questions, comments, contributions, addition. Yes, please.
morning. Good morning. My name is Ayomide Otemuilo. So, sir, I want to ask, what if the culprit is a foreigner?
Well, it will lead us to somewhere. Even if the culprit is a foreigner, we will still get something from the crime scene. They will know that this is a foreigner. Are you getting my point now? Because their kind of hair is different from ours. Whatever it is that we have, the human DNA are not the same. Even if they came from the same parents, there is a uniqueness in all of those things. There are similarities, but there is always a uniqueness. So what is yours is yours. Even if your brother is from your mother and your father, he will still have his own identity. And our identities lies in our lie in our DNA. So foreigner anywhere, for as long as that person is human, it will lead us to somewhere.
Good morning, sir. I think his question is halfway. If my name is Inka Igbeyemi, probably what you're supposed to ask is, if the person happens to be a foreigner, how do you now treat such cooperative if they are foreigners? That is what I expect him to conclude with, because we are learning from here. Because the way we treat Nigerians is quite different from the way we treat foreigners when it comes to issues of suspects. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, when you're talking about treatment, there are stages in treatment. The treatment that concerns you is the arrest, production of whoever must have committed that crime. So in that treatment, it makes it very easy. Do you know why? If, for example, the evidence you got from a crime scene is pointing at a foreigner, now you only need to ask around. If a white person comes into this school today, and then no other white person comes into this school until the next 2 weeks, all right? And a crime happened today, and the evidence is pointing at that white man. People are, the last time a white person was here was 2 weeks ago. Makes it easier for you. Remember, what we are doing is connecting the evidence to the assailant. That's what we are doing. But arresting is another level. Prosecution is another level. But for the purpose of this class, we want to bring out evidence. Remember, I said forensic science is the practical component of investigation. So we are practicing investigation. You collect evidence. You take the evidence to technicians that are experts in that area so that they can help you to, they can use the clue to unravel the crime. So we are unraveling crime. So finding that foreigner is easier because something will point at that person. And because that person is not from here, it becomes easier for you to know that there was a person. You might even be surprised that somebody will bring out the picture of that white person. And with the picture, it's Google Lens, you can find the person's name, even if there was no name attached. Google Lens, put it on, it will go to the person's account, Facebook, to bring out the person's name. And then you begin to trace from there. So have I answered your question, sir? I know you're head of anti-crime, and one time head of rapid response squad. He's a big man. Oh. Yes, my
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Olaita Moses Adekunle. The criminal nowadays, before they perpetrate their evil, some of them will use mask. They will use glove. In that situation, how can we identify the the real suspect? Secondly, if this the homicide through the stabbing, maybe they used knife or cutlass and kill and drop the cutlass or knife. People people out of zeal or ignorance, They will pick that cutlass without using either polythene nylon to cover their something or glove. How can we now know the real perpetrator? So far, another person has touched that cutlass or touched that weapon before the experts continue their investigation. Thank you, sir.
Now, what you are talking about are two things. You talked about two things. The first one is being masked or wearing gloves, and that we see most times. We're lucky that in Nigeria, most criminals are not that advanced because we do not have that database where we can easily find. We have NIN, we have BVN, but you have to take permission. They won't even allow you to use them anyway because BVN, NIN, they are duplications. With NIN, you don't need BVN. I don't know why you need BVN when there is already NIN. So for that, it is normal for a culprit to mask himself or herself. Remember, no criminal wants to be caught in the first place. So when a criminal commits crime, it is normal for the criminal to wear mask, wear gloves. And remember, I established that there might have been a struggle. When there is a struggle, there will be a sweat. It's not going to be easy to overpower a man. There will be a fight. Somebody will have to fight, and then there will be other things that will lead you to that person. And that is why you must examine the scene well. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we do not know how to preserve a crime scene. If you go back to our class, I told you that in crime scene investigation, there are 3 C's. The first C is for caution. The second C is for care. And the last C is for charge. Now, caution here means that when you get to a fresh crime scene, it is possible for the assailant to still be looking around. And when you get there and you are not cautious, you may also become a target, the second target. So that is why you have to be conscious of everything that is happening around you. When you are now certain that you are safe, you move to the next C, and that is the care. Now, why do you have to be careful? Because you do not want to contaminate the crime scene. So, which means that if you do not have your gloves with you, while walking around, you put your hands behind you as an investigator. You cannot touch anything. You have to put your hands behind you so that you don't touch anything. You must open the door, use any other thing. Don't use your fingers. Because the only finger you want to see on that doorknob is the fingerprint of that person that has committed the offense. The only other thing that you want to see there is anything that has to do with the person who has stolen. You get my point now. Now, if you do all of that the proper way, then be certain that you collect your things. The last part is the charge. When you are careful, you have to ensure that nothing changes again. Nothing. You leave that place the way you met it, exactly the way you met it. And that is why you come up with a particular style of, how do I say it, of taking pictures. You have to take picture in a particular way, in a way that, um, in a way that it doesn't affect the established facts. Because when you take the pictures, you have to look for somebody who is used to that particular place, and that person tells you, this has changed, this has changed, this has changed. Am I communicating now? So that is very, very, very important. So that is why you must employ the 3 C's. You cannot just do it. You employ the 3 C's. Now, no criminal is perfect. Even with a mask, with the gloves, something will still give that person away. Something. Now, if it doesn't give that person away at the crime scene, primary crime scene, it can give that person away from the secondary crime scene. Remember, I mentioned in my class what we call journey to crime, an anchor point. The anchor point is that place where you stay in order for you to move to the crime scene. So the distance between the anchor point and that place, you cannot wear mask from home. You wear the mask from somewhere. somebody saw you before wearing that mask. So if there's suddenly a mask, you probably not change your clothes. Somebody saw the person that wore the clothes. And then another person is seeing the person with the mask. But the clothes is still present. Because something will always give a criminal away. Something. No criminal is perfect. And there is always an evidence. Always an evidence. Have I answered your question, sir?
Took money, flew out of the plane till date. Nobody has unraveled that crime. So not always that crime like that can be unraveled.
That's a peculiar
Yeah,
situation.
thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. That's a peculiar situation.
Sir, is there any possibility for lifting of first person that touch and the second person that touch that weapon use? Is there any possibility?
I'm coming, sir. Any what?
Is there any way where the fingerprint, the first and the second person that touch that weapon use can be lifted and distinguished?
Actually,
Because in some situation, before the security personnel will reach a scene of crime, member of public may have touched. Say, this is the cutlass they use, this is the gun they use. So is
thank you
there
very
any
much.
possibility?
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Now, it's actually a question for another class. It's a question for the next practical, but I can answer it. You see, most times when you pick a weapon from the crime scene, if it's a gun is, are you with your gun, sir? I'm just kidding. People hold the gun almost the same way as criminals. But when you go to the crime scene, you don't hold the gun the same way the criminal held the gun or the other weapons. So as experts, you want to hold it like this, or you put a nylon around your hand before you hold it. Am I communicating now? For other people, they don't hold it like that. And that is why we are trying to create a kind of awareness. What kind of awareness? Um, we are working on a project where we also train the private security guards on how to help maintain crime scenes so that the crime scene is not contaminated before the police get there or before the detectives get there. We're trying to create that awareness so that everybody will be educated. There was a time we saw it on the social media where the police caught some people with guns, and then the police officer was holding them the way the person would have held them. I said to the person beside me, okay, I said it was on your platform. I said that when a police officer is holding a gun like that, it is possible for the gun to have come from that police officer. Maybe it was even the one that gave it to them. So when he holds it like that and he say, we see your finger, I heard it. Everybody saw me when I was holding it now. So you create an alibi for yourself. So basically,